I'm going to say something that might sound a little scandalous, especially coming from a marketer, but you need to stop thinking so much about your customers. Yep, you heard me right. Because instead of just thinking about your customers, you need to start thinking like them. Or, as I like to say, putting on your customer hat. And if you don't learn the difference, you'll keep creating offers, messages, and marketing that never quite hit the mark. If you're new here, hi, I'm Danny Henneberger. I'm the founder of Mise en Plan and your host of The Table. So pull up a chair because I help businesses big and small reposition their offers, rethink their strategy, and find clarity when the usual menu of marketing tactics just isn't cutting it anymore. So if that sounds like you are in the right place. On today's episode, we're going to talk about what it really means to put on that customer hat. Why is it more powerful than any old ideal client worksheet or avatar or, any of those things, and how to start doing it in a way that feels natural? So, if you have, or if your goal is to have customers, which I hope that's the case if you're listening to this podcast, this one is for you. So, let's get on into it. I know, having had many years working with businesses big and small, everybody seems convinced that they know who their customer is. But I've also seen a lot of messaging and offers that say otherwise. I think a lot of businesses really do fall back into what they want their customers to think or what they want their customers to want, and not necessarily the reality of what those things are for their ideal clients. Some personas that are created are years or sometimes I've seen like decades old. Like, hey, this is Al and this is what we're going with. But times have changed, people. You have changed. Your business has changed. And I guarantee you, your ideal customers have changed. If not just because of passage of time and getting older, but because everything is a little bit different and there's a lot more out there that we need to think about. And so when that is the case, you end up just by default marketing to the wrong group. Maybe you're finding yourself commoditizing yourself, or maybe you're even just trying to market to everybody. And if you're marketing to everybody, I hate to break it to you, but you're really marketing to nobody because the message isn't targeted and it's not resonating the way you want it to. So, ideal customer profiles and brand guidelines are really helpful. And yes, you should have them. I'm not telling you not to be thinking about your customers. I'm not telling you not to have personas. I'm not telling you not to have any of this information. But those things don't replace having a real understanding. And I am going to throw you some side eye because, especially if you use ChatGPT to help you build those, you really haven't taken the time to step out, use your own brain, process, and absorb what your ideal people, ideal buyers, ideal customers, clients, whatever you want to call them, are all about. I want to tell you a story about the power of this frame shift in action. One of my first Mise en Plan clients was an incredible woman who started a business making homemade allergen-friendly lactation bars, and she really wanted to grow. Let me tell you, this is not sponsored, but holy wow, are they tasty? And this might be a little TMI, but I'm definitely not lactating. And they still make a fabulous pick-me-up with a cup of tea in the morning or afternoon. So, to get at what was going on, we looked at who she thought her customers were, lactating mothers, and what she believed they wanted. Then we looked at who her customers actually were. And it turned out her best customers weren't mothers at all, or at least not lactating ones. So we had to put our customer hats on and ask, why were people who would love this product not be buying it? And it turns out that talking about lactation kind of weirds the average Joe out. And it was rolling out on a huge set of ready and available customers. So we had to pause and really think about what this new audience saw in the messaging. What did they want to snack for? What did they think about products like this? What pains or goals did they have beyond the product and within their own day to day? Then and only then could we take our customer hats off and start thinking about them again to figure out how the product and the message could fit in and actually resonate. And so with that, we ended up seeing her selling out at farmers markets and even getting placed wholesale into cafes. Growth was happening. And it was all because we took the opportunity to take a step back and put our customer hat on and think like the customers and the ones who are actually buying so that we could create the space for it to resonate with the right people. So, with that, let's talk about what it actually means to put on your customer hat. Now, you might be saying, Danny, I'm a small business owner. I have 53,000 hats. Now you're asking me to put a customer hat on too. I don't have the time for that. Well, of all your hats, this is probably the most important one. It is giving you an opportunity to step out of your CEO hat, out of your business thinking hat, and getting into their daily life. It's not just thinking, it's not just observing, it's not just making assumptions, because you know what they say about assuming. It is embodying. It's embodying how they describe their challenges and using actual words that they use. It is feeling the way that they do, it is experiencing the way they interact with your brand. And it is seeing what drives them to finally make a decision and understanding what it was based on. And so you have to be willing to sit in their shoes before you try and sell them new ones, because you're not going to understand what fits, what feels right, and what their specific needs are unless you've gone through some of these exercises. And so let's talk about how we can embody this and practice this in our own business. And so here are a couple of quick ideas to get started. And I think number one is really taking the time to collect the data that you need in order to make informed decisions. You need to go out and talk to your past or current clients, whether it's one-to-one, asking open questions, engaging in a conversation. Some people might say to put out surveys and ask questions that way. That is helpful, but I do find having super casual conversations with your ideal customers and unbiased settings is a really powerful thing. One place to do that is to go to networking events, especially if you have a pretty broad niche. Listen to their unscripted language, how they're talking about their problems, how they're talking about what they're looking for, using their words. Go through and read your reviews and testimonials, both yours and your competitors. Reddit is also a super useful place to go to find out what people are talking about and what they're saying and how they're saying it in a completely unfiltered way. And social listening tools are one way of doing that. I think, for a small business, it's helpful to just kind of scroll through and just experience the conversations that people are having with each other and the conversations that they're having with brands. So, another final thing that I'm going to recommend is doing a mini sort of customer hat audit of your current website and your sales page, especially, and think, okay, well, am I using words that would resonate with them? Is this website easy to use? The UX, user experience component of wearing your customer hat is so important. I can't tell you. But really thinking, this whole experience, is it drawing me in? Is this interesting? Is this making me want to say, yes, tell me more? And so going through and doing a customer hat audit can be really powerful. If you're interested, I do have a free website wellness checklist that covers a couple of these questions that I will go ahead and put in the show notes if you want to download it and check it out and give your own website a once over. If you want another professional's eyes, feel free to let me know. I'm always available to do audits too. So as you go forward and you start dusting off that customer hat and getting ready to have those conversations and start thinking a little bit differently like your customers instead of just about your customers, I just want to normalize the fact that, hey, we all have these moments where we slide back into our own assumptions. I can't tell you how often I'm having a one-to-one or doing a VIP day or working with one of my Prep for Success clients, and we start throwing our brainstorming and trying to be wearing our customer hat when we just casually slip into thinking about our customers and what we want them to think instead of thinking like our customers and leading to, our brand. And there's always a moment in every conversation like, wait, we got to put our customers back on. Are we thinking like our customers or are we thinking about our customers? And that is a really helpful thing to just take a minute and recenter yourself into the task at hand. And this is really why having somebody to collaborate with can be really helpful. A lot of us are solopreneurs, not all of us, but if you're a solopreneur, it is helpful to either have somebody who's an advisor to step in and do this, or even just having some of your friends come in and assigning them the task of thinking like your customers, like you be so and so. This is who we're thinking like today. Let's talk through it. And give each other the accountability to correct the other if someone is starting to think a little bit too much about or in a way that you want those people to think instead of the way that they actually think and the way your customers actually think. And this is really why collaboration can be so helpful. I always love to have multiple people in the room because the ideas that come out are just incredible. At the end of the day, I very strongly believe that we're all too close to our own stuff. And that is exactly why having those extra people and those extra brains and those extra points of accountability can be so powerful. Because at the end of the day, when we're done, we walk away feeling so much more confident because we've had so many more people poking holes in what we've worked on and looking for gaps and looking for other opportunities or other ways that we can think like our customers than we would have otherwise. And like I said, this is a core part of the work that I do with clients, holding up a mirror and helping you remember who it is that you're here to serve. And being that pressure tester, being that hole poker, kind of being a little annoying, but at the end of the day, it's all worth it, I promise, because you end up thinking, oh my gosh, I totally see these people in a whole new light. I'm thinking about them differently, and now I know better how to talk to them. And not just talk to them, but talk with them. And that's a really powerful place to be. Let's do a quick recap of everything we've talked about so far. Number one lesson, you have to stop thinking so much about your customer and start thinking like your customers. Number two, it's about empathy and perspective. It's not just about the data. Number three, you have to get out there to get that pseudo data, that soft data, if you will, and really be honest about it. And number four is to bring other people onto the journey of customerness with you for more brains and better results. And as I'm thinking about it, I realized, you know what? I should actually make real customer hats, hats that say, this is my customer hat or something. Let me know what you think. If you want one, I can make this happen. And I kind of want to make it happen. So let me know. But I digress. As you move into the week, as you move into this rest of the year, go have at least one real conversation with a customer. No agenda, just listening, thinking like them. And if you'd like help translating those insights into offers and messaging that actually land, that's exactly what I do in my VIP days and with my Preference Obsess strategic partnerships. You'll find the link in the show notes if you want to have a quick strategy session to just talk about what's possible and where you might be getting stuck. I'll also include a link to some stuff talking about customer personas if that is something where you want to start before you start diving into thinking like. And of course, please go subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And thank you for pulling up a chair with me today. See you next time. I'll make sure to save you a seat.